So I've been considering buying a business. Let me show you what I've been looking at. All right. So as you know, I sold my pet brand about literally almost a year ago, and I got to tell you, John, I miss the fucking cash flow. Like I miss it. I had a very big exit, big chunk into Bitcoin, which is where I prefer to store my value, and I haven't really done anything since. It's just been sitting there, and I appreciate the exit. Right, you end up getting 3, 4, 5 years of runway when you sell a business, but you don't have those checks hitting your bank account month after month after month. So I've actually been considering buying a brand, buying a business. I've been looking at some are interesting, some are not. I actually kind of want to get your take on some of this. I've been withholding all of this just to show this to you, and I want your unfettered reaction. I want to know whether you think it's a good, bad idea, or just in general, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I totally get what you're saying, and that's one of the reasons why I say to a lot of people when they think of selling their business, like, yeah, you sure that's what you really want to do? Because you're going to get a chunk of money, but you're gonna miss out on some things as well in doing that. Think it through. Look, I mean, the only thing I would say, like in your case, is of course it's going to be more work than you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
Like taking it, like if you're going to buy an existing business, it's going to end up being a lot shitter than it looks on the front end when you're buying it, right? You're going to get in there. You're going to get in there and be like, there's this mess over here and there's this mess over here. And they didn't tell me about that thing over there. Kind of reminds me of your little journey into buying that dropshipping business that sells to old people, and you fucking hated that and sold it like 2 weeks later or something.
So, all right. So to be fair, the brand I owned, we sold mostly on Amazon. We were like 80-20 Amazon, Shopify. If I'm honest, it was more like 60 Amazon, 30 Chewy, and 10 website. It's basically what we sold. And that business just worked, right? If we sold a product that helped an animal, if your dog stopped limping because you took our product, you're going to keep buying forever. And so it was a really easy business. And it had its own challenges, but for the most part, it was a pretty easy business. So I was trying to look for similarly easy businesses, something that people would need to buy again, pretty simple, low cost of entry to get started here. And how can I be different a little bit? And I literally just started, looking through Empire Flippers, looking through Flippa, trying to find things that were interesting that somewhat met that criteria. So look, I'm happy to literally walk through these if you want to see them.
Yeah. Show me your mess that you're going to make for yourself.
All right, so here's the first one that I looked at. It says personal care. If you're listening on a podcast, it says niche personal care bed and bath. It shows a picture of what's clearly soap. You can look through this listing. Now, I want to be very, very clear. I did deposit on this listing, so I will only be talking about what I see on the front end here. I don't want to talk about anything I saw on the back end, but you can clearly deduce from the picture and from listening to this little podcast that they do on Empire Flippers, the guy tells you what the product is, right? So I'm not giving anything away to say that this is shampoo bar soap, which I'll be dead honest, John, I didn't even know was a thing until I looked at this listing. I know this is going to shock you. I went and talked to our employee, Ben, out here, who, yes, he uses a beef tallow shampoo bar for his hair. If anyone knows Ben, and you'll understand the depth of that joke there. So have you heard of shampoo bars?
I have used them like ages ago. I don't use them now, but yeah, I'm aware of the product.
It intrigued me in that they're going to need to buy again, right? Like I think the hardest part of selling some of the high ticket stuff that we sell is you're not likely to sell someone a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth pellet grill, right? And you might be able to sell them other products that they have, and there's a lot of ways that you can make what we typically do, high ticket drop shipping, work for something like this. But on a physical product line, I like to look for, again, dog supplements. They were buying more of the dog supplements or cat supplements. This is something they're going to be buying again. The numbers were low enough to get me excited, but also had some intrigue in some of the numbers, right? So 34,000 is not something that's super hard to swallow, at least in the position that I'm in. They're saying $1,000 profit a month. Again, they're saying 7,000 in revenue. I'll be dead honest, and by seeing this picture and listening to the guy's interview on there, I could find the brand pretty easily. It was pretty obvious what the name of the brand was just by what he was saying. So I found them on Amazon quickly. I've ordered their products long before I signed the NDA, and I actually have some sitting out here on the ping pong table. But what intrigued me again was people are going to buy. I don't think they've even come close to scratching this market, if I'm dead honest with you, based on what's in the market. If you go search some of the stuff on Amazon, some of the branding is elite. And I would say there's a lot left to be desired here that could be better, for sure. I also think their pricing was off when I found them. I didn't think their pricing was in the right range based on what was in the marketplace. But everything else seemed good. And what really stood out to me, John, I don't even know if you know what tacos is. It's like total return on ad spend, basically. It's like T-ROAS, and it's like inverted. So to have tacos of 7%, that reminded me of my pet business where we were at consistently about 10%, that we were spending 10% of our revenue on ads to generate the revenue that we were doing. So I was pretty happy with that. It's like a 10-to-1 ROAS, right? And this is even further than that. And so that's what intrigued me on this. I'm curious, what do you see that where you'd immediately be like, well, I'd love to know this, or I'd love to know this, or what do you see when you look at this listing?
My biggest thing for this, like, I'm not an Amazon guy, so I don't really know personally what questions I would need to ask about that side of things. I know you're an Amazon guy though, so obviously that's why this appeals to you. I'd be interested in, like, I'd want to know more about the supplier stuff that they already have lined up. And like it says there on the listing that they're EU-based suppliers. I'd want to dig into that a little bit. These guys obviously aren't making their own product. They're just probably, I would assume, white labeling an existing product they're getting from a supplier, or private labeling or whatever. So, I mean, to me, that would be I'd dig into that a bit with them and see who are those suppliers. Are there better suppliers? Like, where are the sales mostly happening? Because if they're mostly happening in the US, is there a US-based supplier that you could swap those out? Because, I mean, an EU-based supplier is not really going to be coming that much cheaper. That's not going to be a cost saving. It might have something to do with the formulation they're using, and that's the only place you can reliably get it or something, maybe. But I mean, that certainly seems, there could be some potential risk there versus using a local supplier, particularly when you're talking about things like tariffs and, all of this stuff seems to be a bit of an unpredictable journey at the moment, which could have some impact on your business. And so I'd look into that, see how solid those suppliers are and that sort of thing, because obviously if something happens with those suppliers, that drops the value of the business quite a bit. But look, I mean, there's a lot to be said for these type of products for sure, particularly if it's a little bit niche. Yeah, I would be looking really hard, like you say, like what's their branding look like? What's their marketing messages look like? Like, how are they actually selling the product? Is there opportunities there? As you know, like when you buy a business, you're really just looking for the easy levers. Like, can you see obvious low-hanging fruit? And if you look at it all, and obviously that's a lot easier when you've got some experience in e-commerce and marketing and sales and that sort of thing. You look at it and you go, oh yeah, I could see they could do that, and oh yeah, I could see they could do that. Like, and that immediately jumps out. Then, I mean, that's what you want to see. If you don't see any of that, then it's kind of like, no, that's not a good investment for me.
Yeah, the first thing I noticed right away was, the profit margin's a little low. And that stands out based on, again, I think you can deduce from that picture in the video what brand this was, or at least I did. So, or the one I assumed what ended up being the one that it was. And I thought, the packaging needs to be updated. The branding needs to be updated. There's only 4 video ads and 5 user-generated content videos. Like, that's nothing, right? In a 3 to 4 year old business. And then prices were way too low. And it was just like immediately I would raise prices, like immediately. And that's how I would recoup most of my cash. So I went down the rabbit hole on this one. The most I'll say on this one, John, is I thought it was worth less than what it was based on what I saw and what I wanted to do with the business. And so I made a pretty small offer. Obviously, people don't like to have a smaller offer given to them. They countered back with a different number. And that's kind of where we're sitting is currently, they're here and I'm here. And, who's going to budge first and meet in the middle, I will say, is kind of where we're sitting on this one. So, interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, I would look at that once again. I don't know probably as much as you about how Amazon businesses are valued. But to me, 34 times multiple on that, like, I wouldn't be taking that at all. I wouldn't get close to that. Like, particularly for a business that, if it's primarily Amazon, you own none of the customer data, almost. Like, I personally don't see as much appeal in this sort of business. So I'd like 25, maybe. Like, the profit margin's not that good. I don't know. Is that a normal multiple for an Amazon business?
I would say bigger businesses, yes, probably 3.4, 3.3.
Sure.
I think is where the average was when we listed.
Yeah.
Again, ours was primarily that. This is just under 3. I'd probably go a little less, but the real key is on any of these businesses is when you sign the NDA or when you deposit or whatever you need to do on whatever platform you're on, go look at the numbers, right? Because every business is doing what they can to make their numbers look impressive, right? And then I learned a lot in selling our business is ad backs. And so, like, if you don't even know what an ad back is, go look what an ad back is first, right? Which is essentially, you can say, hey, we spent money on this, but you won't have to as the new owner. And so rather than say I spent it and lose that profit, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to add it back and I'm going to multiply it, in this case, by 34x, or when we sold it was like a 4x yearly multiple, right? 48, if you will. And so ad backs can be the key to understanding whether the valuation is accurate or not. So I would encourage anybody, and again, not saying anything about this business. I found that out in my own, where, shout out to Chuck Mullins. He really helped me out with this. And if anyone who wants to sell, they should go to Chuck Mullins at Quiet Light Brokerage, because he's the man. And he found a bunch of ad backs I would have never even thought of. So it's hard to say without looking at the back end and sharing some of that. And again, I'm not going to do that. So where this sat, but I would say your number you just came up with was right around the range of what we offered. So you can pretty much do that on any business though, right? You don't need to see anything, but I'm still intrigued by this one if I'm dead honest.
Oh, look, I think there's definitely like the idea of how you've explained it. I wouldn't rule it out for sure. Like that doesn't seem like a terrible idea yet. I mean, like I say though, I mean, there's work there and as well. Like, I mean, if you're saying like, the brandings could be better and the packaging could be better and you've got to go out and chase, more customer feedback and all of that sort of thing. I mean, there's all cost there as well, cost and time, right? You got to take that into account. Hey, John here for just a sec. You know how we're always breaking down these wild business ideas and road testing opportunities that other podcasts won't touch? Well, we're growing our own business here, this podcast, and we need your help. So here's the deal. If the Low Bar podcast has given you that holy shit I can actually do this moment, or just made your commute less boring, help us out. If you're watching on YouTube, go and hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, go to our profile page on Spotify and smash that 5-star button. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, hit the review button and leave us a review. It takes you just 30 seconds, costs you nothing, but helps us reach more people who think starting a business is rocket science, which it's not. And it will also give us the momentum we need to do even more fun and crazy business stuff right here for your entertainment. We love to keep it real with you. Now keep it real with us. Let's grow this thing together.
All right, let me move on to another one, John, because you'll kind of see where my thinking starts going with this, right? So the next one I found, they were very open with what they had. They even showed a picture of their product. You seem like someone who's probably tried this. Have you tried colostrum before?
Yeah.
What's your take on it? For those not listening, colostrum is like a primary ingredient in breast milk. Is that how you would describe it?
Once again, I'm not going to give the scientific version of this. I may get this a little bit wrong, but it's essentially the mother's milk, right? So it's the milk. It's what comes out in milk when a baby is a baby, and it contains all of the extra nutrients that particularly that a baby needs to build things like its immune system and all of this sort of stuff. So it's a much more supposedly nutrient dense and containing more nutrients than just regular milk does. And so like human babies get this from their mother. Cows, similarly, I would assume this is a bovine colostrum supplement. Yeah, that's it. It's like the milk for babies. And so people, I don't know I can't remember if the protein content is higher as well or something like that. I haven't looked at it in a while, but it's supposed to be better for you than regular, milk-based products.
Sidebar: have you ever seen any of the documentaries on those yolk dudes who are buying buying breast milk from local ladies in their neighborhood to help them bulk up? Is that something you've tried, John?
I have heard that's a thing. Yes. Have I tried that? No. I mean, look, we've had 4 kids. Have I tried breast milk? Sure.
Yep.
Do I like it? Yeah. I don't mind a bit of breast milk, but I've never gone out and paid for it. No.
I had to ask. I've definitely seen them. I've watched more than one documentary. It's fascinating to me, and the lengths that some of them go to get it is pretty impressive. So I actually know somebody who sold it. There's a big market for people in need, right? In need of one mother can't make the milk, right? And there's a whole above board market, and then there's a whole below board market, and I've actually known some people to do both, which is very interesting.
Sounds like an episode of the Low Bar podcast to me, Ben. We can need to go and find some of these people. Yeah.
Ask me about that one off air, because there's multiple facets to that story that maybe we should do a show on. All right, so if we look at this one, so they're selling colostrum. Their name is Elevite. I think they're playing off the word elevate. But let me show you the Amazon listing before I show you around, because the other one I thought had poor branding, and again, I'm not going to show you that one. You can go figure it out for yourself. But this one, I actually think they have really killer branding. Somebody did a really good job with these images. Somebody did a really good job with all of these photos. I do think there's some AI involved with some of this stuff, if I had to be honest with you. But they're pretty good. The branding's pretty good. This price has changed since I talked to you last, which is very, very interesting. I'm sure they're, based on their listing, you can see, hey, we're selling this brand for $16K. and it includes $12,000 worth of inventory. They're just basically trying to be done with it, sell it for the cost of inventory and be done. So that's what intrigued me on this one is like, hey, you can kind of get in for the cost of inventory. If you were going to start your own brand, you'd have to go do all of this branding. You'd have to go do all this stuff. You'd have to find the manufacturer. You'd have to test stuff. You'd have to test, like, so they've done a lot of work for you. And you're essentially just placing your first inventory order and using the data that they have to tell yourself, hey, I should continue selling this or I shouldn't sell this. Now, again, people are going to buy more than one, right? I know people personally who take this and swear by the benefits they've had with their gut health. If somebody improves, they're going to keep taking it. The story is easy to tell. It is very competitive in the Amazon landscape at this point. A lot of people have launched this stuff, but there's a clear path to what else you could launch here, collagen and God knows what else. I'm sure your supplier probably makes some of those products when you figure out who your supplier is here. So this one was intriguing simply for the fact that you're kind of skipping the line and getting a well-done brand. I don't like the name, if I'm honest with you. Elevite doesn't really jump off the tongue for me, but like I think the branding's well done. I think the product's well done, and you're just paying for the cost of inventory and then, hoping you can sell it all before it expires. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, look, I mean, interesting. Obviously, supplements can be great. Obviously, supplements are hideously competitive as well. In the grand scheme of things, it's probably hard to find a less competitive space than some supplements for sure. Yeah, I agree. The branding looks nice. You get a distinct vibe about who it's branded towards as well. Just looking at it, it's clearly they're aiming this more at the female market than being a broad sort of colostrum. Has a very feminine feel to the branding, I think, at least, which is interesting. And there certainly are niches within the colostrum thing. So it's also a supplement that's used by a lot of athletes, which I would say this is not marketed towards at all. And would there be space to have a product which is essentially the same thing but with different branding that's aimed at other segments of the market if they look like they were underserved or not, or maybe this was the segment of the colostrum market that there looked like there was a good opportunity and that's why they went there. I think there certainly would be some options to take the same product but like market it differently to different people without actually having to come up with a completely different formulation or anything like that, which I would think about. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind the branding. I don't think it matters like what it's called. It's more about what it looks like, I suppose.
So I just want to show you, like, when you search colostrum, what you're looking at, right? This one here, $69. Capsules at $47, $42. And again, these are all the sponsored listings, right? Armra is probably the biggest known brand in the space, I would assume at this point. These guys are everywhere, by the way. Anything that Huberman says, this brand right here has something for it, like immediately, by the way. These guys are all over the zeitgeist. But if you look at some of this pricing, the fact that they're not moving, and maybe they didn't try hard, but clearly they know what they're doing. They're right here, right? This is $17.99 compared to some of this pricing. And so, there's a lot of room here to hopefully regenerate interest and be able to get back to a price point where you're going to improve the numbers that you saw on this page. So you have to assume they tested it, right? You have to assume they tried. They're clearly trying to sell it for the cost of inventory. And so you have to assume this is probably down near that range, after Amazon pays fees and all that stuff. And so I don't know. This one's interesting to me. Again, I don't love the word Elevite, but I do like the fact that you can jump the line and basically have a brand ready to go for the cost of inventory.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing about that, I think, as well, is the position they've taken with that brand being more like they're talking about things like beauty and things like that, at least on the page and with the imagery, is none of these other brands kind of jump out to me as being that. Like maybe one or two of them, maybe that Armra thing, but that's an even worse brand name. But a lot of them look like just kind of your regular sort of supplement branding kind of thing. Like it's kind of boring, but it's also kind of just like that grass-fed colostrum one over the Ancestral Supplements one. I mean, they're a good brand, Ancestral Supplements, but like that looks like it's for a completely different person. And so I don't know.
Isn't that Liver King?
Sorry?
Is that Liver King?
No, it sounds like it would be, but I'm pretty sure it's got nothing to do with him.
I think it might be, actually.
I've bought some of their stuff before.
Yeah, it is promoted. It's him and that, God, I can't remember the other guy's name either. I told you, okay. Liver King's the founder of Ancestral Supplement. And I can't remember the other guy's name that he's partners with it on there.
Well, I'm never buying that shit again.
Wait, you're on TRT too, buddy. You guys are a team, man. Start taking your shirt off and eating raw meat.
Yeah, that guy's on a lot more than TRT. I'll tell you that right now. Anyway, so I don't know. I kind of feel like it would depend how far you would want to take a brand like this, right? Because I think if you're going, I think there would be a lot of scope to, if you had a good product and you were marketing it to a particular niche, and it was a niche once again that not a lot of other people were going after, which just from that quick look at Amazon there, it kind of feels that way to me. Like in some ways, that stuff might actually sell just as well off Amazon. Like if you wanted to go there.
Yeah.
Because that's, supplements and things like that, obviously you've got the whole social side of it, social media side of it. You can sell them there and, there'd be different directions you could take that if you wanted to, or you could just keep it to Amazon itself.
So you didn't seem to mind the brand. I don't like it. And so much so that like, that's what's giving me pause is like, okay, I can see where you go. Again, you have colostrum. The manufacturer who's making your colostrum can make the collagen. They could probably make protein powders, God forbid. And there's not a lot of margin in protein powders, but there's a lot of different places you could go. You can move into these colostrum pills, but like the name, no one's going to be like, hey, have you tried Elevite? Like to me, that one, like something about that bothers me and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, it doesn't really bother me, and it doesn't bother me because I'm thinking of it like, so in any time you're going into a niche, you don't have to have the best branding in the world. You don't have to be whatever. You just have to be better than your niche that you're going into, right? Than who you're competing with. That's all people are comparing you to, right? And so if I look at the other branding, once again, on that Amazon page that you were just showing, I mean, it all looks dog shit. Like, I mean, cowboy colostrum powder, BAESE, like, what, is that base? Like, I can't even pronounce that. What the fuck is that? Armra, like I said, that's a terrible fucking name, and shout out to any of these people if they actually hear this. You could do Wonder Cow, maybe that's kind of interesting, but like nothing here jumps out as being good. Like what on here is good to you? I just don't think it's any worse. I think it's in the top quarter of what I see here, both from a packaging design, but also the name. Like, I mean, I just don't think any of them are good.
Well, maybe you're talking me back into it. You want to split this one, John, and just do it for podcast lore, see what happens? Look, I think Bloom is good. Obviously, I've heard a lot of Armra. I'm friends with Katie. She's known as Wellness Mama online. She's talked about Armra a lot. And so like I've heard that before. Yeah, maybe not some of these other brands. You're right. Some of these suck.
Just going back to like nobody's saying, oh, have you used Elevite? Nobody's saying, have you used Armra? Like that doesn't sound any better. Like that's not even a word.
I guarantee they're using the word colostrum. Like no one's thinking of a brand, right? But wouldn't you want a brand associated with these products, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. A brand, well, yes, I think so. And particularly if you were going to branch out into other related or supporting products, supplement products as well, it would be cool to be able to use a consistent brand across them all and do all of that sort of thing. But once again, I would just come back to like, if you're looking to buy it and get a return on your money and then make some more, and you're not necessarily planning to be the biggest supplement company in the world, you just have to be better than the people you're competing with. Like that's your bar. It's not like, are you going to be the Apple of supplements or something like that? That's not your goal here, right? So think about what your actual goal is, and that's going to define really how much do you need to care about this stuff.
Most nights, my brain won't shut off. I'm lying there chasing new ideas, diving down rabbit holes, thinking through business problems, all of it. I can't turn it off, and honestly, I don't even want to. I fucking love this stuff. But I do need solid sleep if I'm going to show up as the best version of myself for my wife, for my kids, for my business partners, and for me. So every night I take Kill Switch from Switch Supplements. I've been taking it for years. I take a scoop, I watch a quick YouTube video, and within a half an hour, I'm out. It works every single time. My wife takes it. My employee takes it. We even gave it out at a couple of our live events and everyone loved it. If you're the same way, you can't turn it off, but you still want to win big the next day, go to switchsupplements.com/lowbar and use the code lowbar to get $10 off your first order. That's switchsupplements.com/lowbar and use the code lowbar. Sleep like you're dead. Sidebar. Do you think there's a room in the marketplace for a supplement brand that's like anti everything? Like Black Rifle Coffee Company is one of those. Like what is that cans of water death wish, or what is that called?
Liquid death.
Yeah, liquid death. Like, you think there's like an angle where you come in with these supplements that is like total anti supplement thing, but like actually they're good for you? Is that possible?
Explain that further. Like, what do you mean?
I mean, it takes a specific segment of people like Black Rifle Coffee Company, right? And there's a very specific set of people who don't like Black Rifle Coffee Company, right? And I would assume the same thing with Liquid Death is a little bit different, but it's a whole different angle on water to call it Liquid Death than it is to call it Ancient Springs or some shit like that, right? And so, is there an opportunity to take supplements in a dark angle or God forbid, a right angle and promote it that way? Because again, you want to focus on one audience, right? You can't serve everybody.
Look, I would certainly say with this, like just looking at these supplements for an example, there certainly appears to be space for somebody to come in here with some really fucking eye-popping branding. This all looks the same, right? These are all very pastel-y colored greens and browns and boring and all of that sort of thing, at least to me. As a man, they're boring. Nothing grabs me here. So yes, could you come in and just go like you see it with I think you see it with other supplements, like particularly supplements that are in the sort of bodybuilding space or anything like that. Like they're quite like in your face kind of things, right? Is there an angle here for bovine colostrum that's like in your face and like clearly is meant to call out to a particular person in a very clear way and have everybody else hate it? Maybe there is. I mean, I'd have to look into more about who actually uses colostrum. Like, who's actually buying this stuff? That would be my thing, because that's what's going to give you the angle. But sure, I think there's room for that brand in every market. Like the one that's completely the opposite of everybody else, or takes an approach that seems backwards or something like that.
If you're going to market this to dudes, it'd be very easy to get a little sexual with it, right? Like I think Poopery and Tushy have done some interesting things on the poop angle of things, right? And I think you could go a little bit, towards suck it on a titty or something. Like there's definitely some angles here you could go that would be outrageous that are not pastel colors and support your gut and feel good immunity. Like that's kind of where this is going. And if indeed you believe in it, could you go a different direction? I don't know. Maybe we cut that whole section. I have no idea. But I do think there's an opportunity for you, like you said, to look very different here. All right, let's move into something more interesting here. So I started looking, I got a 4-year-old autistic kid. He's a level 2 autistic. He is into toys that I would say other kids are into, but he's doing stuff with them that is wild, right? Here's a funny story. We took him for Halloween. He's never had candy before. He didn't even know to eat the candy. So he comes home, brother and sister dump their buckets on the table. They're like, I'll trade you this for this. I want this Skittles. You have this peanut butter cup. And he makes this elaborate circle in the middle of our living room with all of his, right? And there's like every sucker sorted by color and every candy sorted by color. And so I like to watch him play with toys. I like to see the stuff he's doing. We pay a little extra to have him go to speech therapy and go to OT privately to, try to improve his skills. And they have all sorts of products there. And so I started looking down this rabbit hole. When I saw some of these, they resonated with me. And this is the first one that resonated with me. So it stood out to me right away that this is, for lack of better words, like a sensory type toy. And they had their brand name on here. I went right to their site, John, and I wanted to see it. And this is like their main product, is like wooden magnetiles, for lack of better words. You know what magnetiles are, by any chance?
Yeah.
So we have tons of magnetiles at home. The kids are always building something, and then the older brother, knocks it down and laughs hysterically, and everyone gets mad at him. That's how it goes in my house. But this is wooden. I've never seen wooden. I've seen plastic galore, and there's certainly a big market of the audience that doesn't want that much plastic in their home. I don't know if that's the angle I would go with this, but these products look fantastic. Like really, really good. And if you look at this 32-piece set is $59. I believe the big one it's normally $175. They've marked it down. You can see we're closing. Enjoy 50% off Earth Tiles, right? So when I saw this listing, I went to Amazon and looked at it. The reviews are incredible. I went to their website and looked at it. The reviews are incredible. I reached out to them personally. I reached out to them on Flippa. I reached out to them on Amazon. I have heard zero back, John. Like none. So why would you list your business for sale and then I'll not answer? This one has kind of blown me away. So if you're watching Big Future Toys, I want to buy your business. I genuinely want to buy this one. I like this one more than any of the ones that I've showed you so far, and more that I will show you. I really, really like this business, and I'd hazard you to try to find something you don't like in it, other than everything happens in Q4, of course.
Yeah, of course, it's that type of business. Maybe they're not messaging you because they've got a. I'm pretty sure once you sign up with Empire Flippers, and sorry if I've got this wrong, Empire Flippers, you can't sell outside of them anyway.
Yeah, and this one's on Flippa, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, look, whatever. It is on Flippa. You're right. Yeah. Look, it's an interesting one. I mean, their website could certainly be like 1 billion times better. I would say that. There's an immediate lever you could pull right there. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's like, yeah, the branding kind of sucks as well there. Like, I don't like that branding either. Yeah. I mean, I'd have to look at. I'd be looking at like how do these wooden or eco-friendly or whatever you want to call them toys compare price-wise to the regular sort of magnetile type things. I think you're right. I think there's definitely people who out there who want their kids playing with fewer plastic things, and so obviously this is going to appeal to them if they're the people that want to buy such type of products. Obviously, there's the eco-free angle you can take, the eco angle, sorry. It's good for the environment or whatever, people say about that. You can take that angle as well, which would appeal to a certain segment of the market. And then there's also the angle of, this appeals particularly to certain children, based on who they are over others. And that's a group of parents as well. And so there's definitely, I can see the market for this stuff. I don't think there is any question about that. It's once again, it's just a crowded space, right? I mean, kids' toys, you want to go outside of supplements and find one of the next most competitive spaces. Anything for children at certain times of year particularly is like, can be bananas. So
where this is different, John, is if you go search wooden magnetic tiles on Amazon, and I can pull it up if you want me to. There's no one. This is the only brand I can find. Wow, and so either no one wants them, or they're mispriced, or something's off here, right? Because they only have 30 ratings. They have nothing below 3 stars. Everything's 5-star, which actually kind of blew my mind. That doesn't happen on Amazon. There's always a Karen that buys your product and bitches about it for some strange reason, right? The reviews are good on their website. I couldn't find what's wrong here, and they're clearly done. They're clearly done, right? Take 50% off. We're closing. Our sets last forever. On Amazon, you can't even see the price. You have to click see the price in the cart because they're selling it below the price. Like, they're clearly just fire sailing this off to be done, which also, it's Q4. If you make all your money in Q4, why would you fire sale it off in Q4? Why wouldn't you try to at least leave some margin for you? But I don't know what to do. I reached out to them on Flippa. I tried to sign the NDA to talk to them. I reached out to them on their website. I did everything I could to try to find these people. And there's quite a story around the people themselves that I think was on their Amazon page. This Steve and Kristen. So Steve and Kristen, if you're watching this, I'd like to buy your business. I find this one to be fascinating, John, because you're only competing against all of this, which is fine. But I'm not trying to compete in the $25 world. I'm trying to compete on something that is a little more Montessori, if you will, something a little more high end, high quality, long lasting, phthalate free. I don't know. I really like this one. I'm actually, I'm disappointed that they won't answer my calls, if you will.
Look, I don't mind it. I mean, just looking here, some of the search terms around magnetic tiles. I mean, their tiles even here in Australia come up on a Google suggested search. Their brand name, I think they're using the name Earth Tiles for those products.
Yep,
I know the website, Earth Tiles. So that even came up in Google's auto suggest. Here in Australia, not a ton of volume behind it, but like magnetic tiles and some variations around that have a decent amount of volume. As there's also magnetic blocks, which maybe that'd be like another. Like the thing here that I like about this, as well, I suppose, is that there's going to be a bunch of other products you could put alongside this as well, right?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like there's a ton of other products you could pull in here. You could probably find manufacturers for super easy. Once again, that are along the same, the same style of toy, that Montessori kind of, wood, all that sort of thing. There's a ton you could do here to broaden this business out with other products. And I think you would have probably an easier, less competitive pathway to do something like that than the other two businesses that you already brought up here for sure. So like, I mean, you could really take this a long way in that direction if that's something that you wanted to do.
You can see their other products here, right? They have branched out a little bit, right? This latch board, they literally call it the spinny thingy, wooden sit and spin. They've tried to branch out a little bit, but you're right. This could become pretty easily its own brand of wooden products. And maybe that's the angle they try to go to. I imagine when you're Q4 heavy that you have cash flow issues, right? Because you're trying to bulk up for Q4. And if Q4 isn't everything you hoped it would be, that doesn't end well, right? So I assume there's some cash flow stuff here, but again, I don't, Earth to Steve and Kristen, I want to buy your business. I think this is a very cool business.
There's so many other ways you could sell these products as well. Like what have they like? Have they tried to sell it to schools? Have they tried to sell it to daycare centers? Have they tried to sell it to any places where children might actually use these outside of the home? You know, like you could go, you know, in different directions with this, like multiple different directions to market these products. Which once again, compared to the other two businesses that you've kind of put up here, probably you could do that a lot more easily with this than those. Like you don't have some of those options.
All right, well, in that same vein, I went down a further rabbit hole here, down the sensory landscape, and you can see this lady is sitting in a swing, if you will. I don't know what to call this, right? Maybe they describe it better down here. This sensory wellness brand was established to address the need for a high-quality, aesthetically appealing sensory swing suitable for both children and adults. So this is one product. It's the sensory swing, if you will. It's the bolts and everything to hold it to your ceiling. Once again, I'm pretty thrilled with this. I was able to figure it out pretty quickly what the product was. Again, I don't know if it's on this page, but I figured it out pretty quickly. Tried to contact them in every way possible, and I once again did not hear back. So I don't know if this is commonplace. I've bought on Flippa before. Apparently, I sold on Flippa like 8 years ago. Washandflush.com. I completely forgot I did that. But I'm shocked that you would list your business and not answer inquiries. Like, what would prevent you from answering inquiries? I'm very shocked by this.
Yeah, look, I have no idea. Like I say, unless there's some agreement they have with Flippa now that you can't do anything outside of their platform or whatever. I mean, I don't know. It seems a bit ridiculous that you wouldn't answer inquiry. Like, if you want to sell your business, like, sell it however you can sell it. It's not hard. But yeah, look, once again, simple product, hey? Super simple product, I'm guessing. Probably seems like it's probably pretty cheap to manufacture, and all of that sort of thing. You know, once again, if you're playing in that sensory space, if that's the space you're being in, I mean, once again, like, this is going to be something you could put on a website. This is something you could put a bunch of other products alongside. You know, there's tons. I mean, we've looked at it before. We've talked about it a lot on our other podcast, the Dropship podcast, but, you know, the sensory product space, you know, is massive in terms of a lot of the different products that you could pull in. A lot of them would be pretty easy to put your own brand on, private label or whatever, for sure. And so I think there's a lot to be said for it, for sure. I know you've been keen on this niche for a long time. So,
well, I'm glad you went there, because that's where I ended up. I looked at all this. I want to buy some cash flow. I want to start something. And the longer I sit with it, you know, I had that, like you said, I had that idea on our podcast. We put it out as a podcast. We had multiple people reach out and say they're going to do it. I think we had some people reach out and did do it, but I've got a personal connection there. So I think I'm just going to do it. I looked at domains for this. And my brain first went to like the obvious sensory, blah, blah, blah. And I could hear you in my ear. I could hear John going, "You're an idiot. You're not Sensory Warehouse. You are not Sensory Direct. Stop with that bullshit." And then, in fact, I went to ChatGPT and started talking through it with ChatGPT. And I'm pretty sure I was talking to John GPT at the time, because they were like, "Stop it with your SEO-laden domains. You want to build a brand here, right?" And so through that entire process, I own a domain, right? So I mentioned it on the podcast that you and I did when we talked about this niche in particular. But I wanted to land on something that is brandable. And so I landed on what I think I'm going to buy literally today. And I want your opinion on it. So I think I'm going to build a sensory website, John. And not only do I want a website, I want the ability to have my own brand underneath it, and I want one more piece. So let me show you the brand, and I'll walk you through the vision. You tell me what you think. So this is what I think I landed on for the brand. Now, the domain itself is $2,000. So, you know, if I'm going to buy this, I do love a good domain. If I'm going to buy this, I got to go, right? So I know if I'm making this investment, I'm going to go. But I do think Epic Elephant could be a very good brand name for any of that. So Epic Elephant Sensory Swings, Epic Elephant Earth Tiles, like, you could buy those brands and immediately stick them under your brand. But what really sat with me is when I talked to our employee out here, Ben, he's my best friend, about this. He was like, you know, could you see a brick and mortar store for this stuff too? And it, like, yeah, I immediately saw it in my mind's eye. I was like, why wouldn't you start your high ticket dropshipping, which is what we do best? But at the same time, why wouldn't you layer in brands there? You're going to immediately be able to private label here. It's what intrigued me about this industry in general. There's not a lot of brand dominance here. A lot of the products that my son plays with and does so at OT and things like that, there is no branding. So there's an opportunity to be the brand, which is great. But to be able to launch your own stuff, right? That sensory swing that we looked at, if I can't get a hold of them, I'm pretty sure I can figure it out. But also, I do think there could be a storefront here. And I think there could probably be a storefront all around the country, if I'm dead honest with you. I think there could be a place that you could just go buy sensory toys. Specifically, I'm talking to my level 2 autistic son. There's a lot of people like that. But if I just go to his preschool, he's the only autistic kid in his class, yet they have all of this stuff there. And so even if he wasn't in the class, classrooms are buying this stuff at this point. Then my wife turned me on to the fact that this is government subsidized. And so parents who have children diagnosed with this are given a budget from the government to buy these things. And that might have been the final straw that broke the camel's back for me, if you will. I was just like, holy, this really feels good. And so I've been sitting in my sauna for the last few days, John, flipping on the red light and closing my eyes and trying to think through what this could look like. And I think I'm pretty sold here, but as usual, I want your feedback. I want you to tell me what am I missing? What am I not thinking of? And feel free to yell at me about spending $2,000 on a domain name.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think this is a good name. Sure. Epic Elephant. I like Epic Elephant. Look, once again, I mean, I think my question for you in all of this, like particularly that last idea of like, being the sensory thing and, you found that one product, the sensory swing, let's just use that one or maybe it's the blocks or whatever, but the sensory swing, that looks like a pretty simple product to get started with if it's a good product and all of that sort of thing. Going outside of that and really building your own brand and, branching out to a website, branching out to other products and doing all that stuff. I mean, the nice thing is, you've got at least some of the skills you need to do that. You've got a lot of practice in that space, which is good. So it plays into a lot of your existing experience and all that sort of thing. But of course, there's a lot of time commitment there. So it's a lot of work is what I'm saying. Like to go outside of, yeah, sure, you could get the cash flow going with that first product that's on Amazon and all of that sort of thing. And that's cool if that's your goal. If your goal is to make it a lot bigger, then that's, that's a big thing. So I would worry less about the money and what do you buy it for and all of that sort of thing. To me, that's not really going to be a risk as such. I mean, it's not, the amount of money that's selling for is not like a life-changing amount of money to have to spend. I don't really think that's the risk here. I think the risk is more like, do you burden yourself with something that you really want to burden yourself with? Like when you're an entrepreneur, your biggest asset is your time. It's not your money or anything like that. It's literally your time. And so you've got to be aware if you're not just trading off, 30,000, 20,000, 25,000, whatever the price ends up being, you're also trading off X number of hours every week for the rest of time that you own that business. And so is that also worth it to you? And what does that add to? What does it take away from? Because you're going to sacrifice something. Like you're not somebody who is coming to this as like you're starting your only business or your first business and you can say, well, I'm doing 100% of my time with this. I mean, you've got other interests as well in the business space, and a number of them. So you're going to sacrifice something somewhere else if you wanted to grow this to a big size. That's always, and I never used to think about this sort of stuff, but I think now I would think about it a lot more and I'd weigh up the cost of that versus where might I be if I didn't take that. What at times can be like a shiny object. I mean, I don't know how that sits for you and all of that sort of thing, but that would be my number one thought for somebody at sort of our stage of business. We've been doing it for 10 years plus, blah, blah, blah. Lots of different businesses we've been involved in and still involved with quite a few. You're going to add to that when it's at a stage that you want to grow it. So other people aren't going to do this work for you. Sure, you could hire people in to help with various parts of it, but like you're going to have, it's not a business that's making enough money that you're going to be able to just offload everything to other people. So that would be my question. That would be the big John question. I mean, it sounds like, the niche is definitely right up your alley and all of that sort of thing. That seems like a good idea to me, particularly for you. I know you're interested in it because you've been talking about it for years, pretty much at this point. I mean, obviously I haven't done the due diligence on the business either, so I don't know, but like, it seems like a good idea, but like, that's what you have to take into account. Is it the right thing for you to be doing right now? So that's what you have to answer. Nobody's going to answer that for you. But that's what I would think about if it were me.
Well, I don't think you're going to be doing everything at once, right? So you're going to have to start high-ticket dropshipping, which you can outsource a lot of that, right? Certainly, we've gone over that in depth on the Dropship podcast, so we don't need to rehash it here. But we can get out of the way of ourselves early on that one, right? And then hopefully start making some sales. Those sales are going to get immediately reinvested into a team who can continue those sales, for, the processing of those sales, right? Then maybe, just maybe we're able to acquire one of these brands again. Maybe one of these people on Flippa actually respond to BK, and you can layer a brand on there, right? And then I do think the storefronts, that's, that could happen supernaturally, right? Like I'm not sold on being in this office that I'm currently in warehouse. I could go rent a storefront across town and build an office in the back, right? And have my office there and do these podcasts. And then the front of it is that store, right? And my rent is subsidized because I'm paying for this already. And so maybe you could just work your way in there, and the returns you get and the different products that you get in to take videos and all that stuff. Like I think it becomes more of an organic thing over time rather than something that sucks a lot of time out of you in the beginning. But make no doubt about it. You and I have been talking for a long time. Like, I really want that one thing that I put, not all my effort into, because I kind of like that we have variety. I kind of like that we do podcasts and have partners and things like that. But it almost like I want that pillar of like, this is my life's work, if you will, right? Rather than, well, I was part of this and I was part of that and I've been part of this. And believe me, I love our partners. I don't want to say anything about that, but I kind of do want my own thing. And I don't think the pet brand was it. It was fun. And, shout out to Leighton and Leanna. We had a really good time. We built a good business, but I think this one could be something I'm able to lean into and truly build something bigger than me, if you will. Right. So, elephants in the name. That's a shout out to my mom. She was the biggest elephant lover in the world. She had 80,000 knickknacks in her house of elephants. And so it's kind of a shout out to my mom. It's alliterated. Your boy loves some alliteration. And then, it's a shout out to my son as well. Right. And so I think it's an opportunity to build something big and have it mean something, and also know that it's not going to take all of my time in the beginning. It's going to take time, but of course it will. But believe me, when it's about 2 p.m. on a Saturday and I'm bored out of my mind and I don't want to watch another episode of the Great British Baking Show with my children, like, this is what I could be doing while I'm sitting there, which is, I'm playing on my laptop already. So I don't know. I like this idea. I haven't purchased the domain because I don't want it to just sit in my Namecheap account with the other dozens of domains that have been in there for years. I want to know I'm going to actually do this one if I buy it.
Yeah, like I wouldn't buy the domain name until you're actually doing it. You're right. There's not really much point in that. I think that the domain name could be used for a lot of different things, but it's probably just going to sit there and gather dust otherwise. So
shout out back to episode 2. It's called this guy or Casino King bets $100 a day and made a business out of it. It's actually at the time of recording this, one of the slower episodes we've had to take off. I think it's one of the best we ever recorded, but it's all about doing a short series. And in there we talk about vlog. And so I think if I'm going to do this, John, I'm going to vlog this one. Literally, all right, day 1, here's how I pick the audience. Day 2, here's how I pick the brand name. Day 3, here's my vision. Day 4, and literally walk through our course. I think it would be really good to help sell our course. It'd be really good to just document this, assuming I turn it into what I want to turn it into. It'd be good to document this. And then we also signed up to have someone help us with our personal brands, where we need to post 362 times a month or something like that. So I'm already in search of content that's going to fit the bill there that I can come up with organically. And so I think if I'm going to do this one, I'm going to do the daily vlog. And now it doesn't quite fit what we talked about in that episode, the SWOT framework, if you will. It does lend itself to, hey, here's what I did today, or here's what I didn't do today, and here's the next thing I'm working on, and here's how I'm building this. And I do think, at minimum, it's going to drive people into our course that want to start a business just like that.
Yeah, maybe.
I get the feeling you like some of my other ideas more than you like this idea.
What do you mean?
You seem to... I would say, listening to them from the top, you seem the most excited about the colostrum. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. And then worked your way down. I would say this idea seems like you're less thrilled.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not less thrilled. I'm not more thrilled. I mean, if a market exists, like you can sell a product in any market. It's like that age-old thing when it comes back to dropshipping. Like, people are all like, we've helped so many people find products to sell on their e-commerce businesses, and they're always like, oh, I'm looking for the perfect product, or this massive opportunity that's just going to jump off the page and be like, that's just a great idea. You should do that over everything else. Like, I don't know. I don't ever see that. Like, I just don't think it exists. Like, I don't look for that. I just look for, is it a good, solid opportunity? Can you make some money? Are there, like I say, levers that you could pull? To me, like, none of those ideas would jump off the page if it were me doing it. I think they're probably all good, but like in different ways, in their own way. So you have to ask yourself the question, what do I want to be about? Do you want to be about sensory toys? Do you want to be about colostrum? You know what I mean? Or do you just not care? You're just like, I just want to print some money. If you just want to print some money, then no, it doesn't fucking matter at all. One little bit. getting excited about the product. You get excited about the levers that you can pull to print that money, sure, but the product almost doesn't matter if you're that sort of person.
There's something about watching my son, my only son, as of recording this, who knows, maybe there's more. Watching him play with these toys, like, touches you in a way you can't be touched. Your kids are special, right? And so to think about building or private labeling or selling toys that mean the world to him, right? And potentially getting to hang out with him and maybe having, Carson's Corner in the store of like, stuff that he approves of or whatever. A lot of this feels like it hits really close to home. And you know me, I'm not a guy who's like, I fell in love with the marketing, I'm going to sell something I don't believe in. Colostrum's one of them. In fact, it makes my rosacea worse. I'm not even sure I like colostrum. I don't know what it's supposed to be doing for me, but it makes my rosacea worse. And so I assume maybe I shouldn't be taking that stuff. Or maybe it is really good for your immune system and like it's just making mine flare up, right? Which is, what a rosacea is. So I don't know. If I said I was tied to any of them, it's like the idea of the first two to have that cash flow coming in at very minimal effort. Like Amazon FBA is truly very minimal effort. We should get somebody on this show to talk about it because I think it's awesome. It sucks in a lot of ways too, don't get me wrong. And so I'm tied to that, but I'm tied to the story on the sensory side. I think I have been since we did that podcast. I've owned a domain that I ended up I'm not going to use it if I do this. But I've been tied to that for a long time, and watching my son be different in a good way, right? He's extremely different, but in the most extremely good way. And so I feel tied to it to want to help him I could see him, I don't want to discount what he could become later in life, but I could see him, if that does turn into that great grand vision I just gave you, John, I could see him like maybe that's something he wants to run later in life. Maybe that's his passion project too, is to give back to more kids just like him.
Yeah, maybe. Could be.
All right, I got one more I spotted today. It literally just showed up in my inbox today. I'm curious what you think of this one. So we did a show on digital PDFs, episode 3. I'm going to kick your ass in that one, by the way. But like, this is the epitome of it, dude. 2-year-old digital project business for adults age 50 to 80, $37 million in revenue, and they're asking $13 million. Can you imagine building a business in 2 years, selling the PDFs we talked about in episode 3, and now you're selling your business for $13 million, John? Like, I trust Quiet Light, like, very much. So I know these numbers are probably as legit as they're going to be. Obviously, sign up, do your due diligence, all that stuff. I'm only looking at the front page, but I could not believe this when I saw this, and I knew I had to share it with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the description of it is not what you expect. Digital audio programs. Interesting.
Yeah, this business sells digital audio programs, educational content, and other products that support memory, cognition, and overall mental well-being. The target market is adults age 50 to 80 who are concerned about age-related decline, one of the highest spending consumer groups in the United States. I did not know that. Most revenue is generated from its large affiliate network. Strong systems and momentum have helped it grow about 50% from last year. Information. John loves some information, right? You recruited me to come sell some information with you. I'm glad you did. That's been a fun ride. But this blew my mind. These numbers are crazy.
Yeah, well, they've got a 1.2 million email list. They've got an email list with 1.2 million people on it. I mean, that's going to add to the value. Yeah, I mean, sounds very interesting for sure. I'd love to know what the products are. I'm very curious. Obviously they've got a good target market there. People 50 to 80 worried about their cognitive decline. I mean, that's particularly if your product actually serves people and helps them with that problem, whether they're actually experiencing it yet or not. I mean, that could be a very genuinely useful business, right? And clearly, I mean, something's working.
My favorite part of every listing I've ever read ever is the last line, because it always says the same thing. He spends a few hours a week. That's it. Like every owner ever, no matter the size of the business, they only work a couple hours a week. I always find that amazing. But yeah, if he had a $37 product, he should have 1.2 on his list just to sell this much, right? And so certainly, your boy BK is not shoveling out $13 million to buy this, but I thought you might find this one interesting.
Yeah. Hey, look, it sounds like a great business. Yeah, I'd love to check it out for sure. I'd love to see what they're doing, how it works, what the products are for sure, just out of curiosity.
Well, I don't know where I'm going to go with this, but I will keep everyone updated. If I start a blog, I'm certainly going to call on all you listeners to come watch the shorts and figure that out for us. But I don't know, I thought it'd be fun to share what I've been looking at over the last few weeks and see if you had any opinions on this stuff, John.